All right. This is going to be uh, lesson prep for session three. Um, the concept determines our method is the official title. We call it vocabulary because it defines words. So we try to do the same on each one of these. Let me get my notes out here. I know it's hard to believe I have notes. Okay, um, the intent of this lesson is to help to prep. We're going through each lesson in a conversational way as if we were prepping somebody for teaching. Um, we've called this kind of a look behind the curtain. Excuse me, an idea of how these lessons are put together, how they integrate one to another, and give you a deeper understanding of the lesson, and understand that every lesson has a theme. The first lesson is vision, seeing things from God's point of view. That's the theme. The Great Commission. Our only marching orders is to make disciples. That's that theme of that one. And the third one here being the concept or vocabulary is to define the words. Basically, I can't remember how I used to say the theme, but the theme would be um, if if we've been mandated to make disciples, we don't get to make the definitions. God makes the definitions, so we have to do it by His standard, not our standard or a standard we agree on. Um, anything you want to add to that up until that point?
Think that's good.
Okay. Um, we admonish you not to change the lesson. That's a pitfall. People try to improve upon it. Um, don't they don't understand the experiences of the author? Um, Herb Hodges, who wrote this book, master disciple maker. And if you think that you're going to improve upon what he's written and being brand new, never made a disciple in your life, good luck with that. Your lack of understanding doesn't mean you can change the lesson. And what I mean by that is just because you don't understand why it's there doesn't mean you get to throw it out. Well, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't fit in my head. Well, who cares? Um, I know that sounds harsh, maybe. If it does sound harsh, then you ain't got the chops to be in this anyway. So might as well exit the door now, right? Uh, that's pretty harsh. And
A good point too is the stool.
yeah,
This is the third leg of the
yes.
stool. I think we mentioned that last in the last one.
Last couple of times, um,
Hmm.
because and you bring a good point that the these three lessons are directional. Is that a good way to say it? Directional. They push this whole thing, this whole idea in a direction, and they're critical. So you gotta be sure that whoever's teaching these first three at least been on a trip, have taught this multiple times, that their experience is not somebody that's brand new to the process. Um, use the illustrations as much as possible in the book. Don't try to change them. Don't come up with something brand new that you think fits because you may think it fits and it may not. Until you understand the information deeper, use the illustrations. Um, until you can teach all nine and actively making disciples, uh, after you have have that under your belt, then you may start tweaking the lessons. That's my suggestion, not my hard fast rule. Do whatever you want to do to your own peril. Um,
And the tweaking is not the tweaking is is probably adding some personal illustrations.
yeah,
Um, the tweaking would be not messing with the leg of the stool,
yeah,
which is the main point. Which stick to the point,
right,
which is the define a disciple. You can add some of your own information that you found through your
right,
research of this,
Right.
that enhances what a disciple is. That
Right.
enhances some of these
Right.
things. Yeah.
And again, like we have done a lot of research with Ray Vandal and the rabbi and his Talmudim, and we add some of that. But someone who is fairly new, maybe you've been on one trip, um, and you're still kind of wobbly or whatever. I wouldn't I'd stay away from it, just because even I get lost in the weeds when I try to combine the rabbi and the Talmudim in the middle of this. I'm getting I'm better at it now, obviously, but there for a while it was wonky. So, um,
Yeah.
um, but stick with the lesson. The lessons fit together, so if you don't present them correctly, um, it won't fit in. It won't mesh in with the rest of it, and you could mess the flow up, and again, mess the direction of this whole teaching, and you'll get people off on the wrong thing. Um, if you change, if you, and again, I'm kind of repeating myself. If you change it, you're saying I know more than a skilled disciple maker. So I'm arrogant, but that's arrogant. So stick with the script. Um, this was intended for crowd communication. What we're doing here, like you've said, I think you said in the other videos, is this is something you would. This is conversational, so you would do this across the table as you were prepping somebody, or if you're explaining it to somebody um, in a one-on-one situation. Um, but what we're preparing you for is crowd communication. Um, Again, and this is really important. Teach from a position of freedom. This is not a hammer. This is not a club to beat somebody over the head with. Although it can feel that way sometimes. But teach from a position of freedom. I use the phrase, and you're welcome to use it. I don't know what happens in this country, or I don't know what happens here in this church. I don't know what happens here in this state. I don't know what happens in your community of believers, but here's what happens in mine. That way it's not a, I'm going to point at you and point at you and point at you and tell you how, what a piece of garbage you are, and I've got it all together. You're not doing that. It is, hey, I'm just offering this information to you, and you can take it if you want to.
I started using that with Bliss,
Mm-hmm.
um, and man, it especially when you're. I started using that like right after we you had mentioned that, and man, it's just so like you said, the freedom that uh, that presents, and you don't feel like you're trying to assume that they have the same issue. You allow them to say, "Oh no, that's just like it is
Yeah.
here."
Yeah.
It gives an open-ended
Right.
response. It gives them an opportunity to respond. Yeah,
Well,
that
and
worked good.
and it's not that you're trying to manipulate or trap somebody, but what it ultimately does is, when you say it like that, is they can just sit back and go, I'm not going to respond to that, but if they're interested and they lean in, then they implicate themselves by going, yeah, I'm with you, I 100% agree. Well, then, if you agree, then what are you going to do? You know,
Yeah,
they stick their neck out on the chopping block and don't realize it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, because they done sucked in whenever they say, "Yeah, that's us too."
yeah, exactly.
There you
Um,
go.
but you have to teach from a position of humility, because this is a privilege to say this stuff to anybody. This is not a, don't. If you get up, trust me. If you get up there with the posture of I can't wait till you see how I do this, and let me, I'm gonna come in here and knock this out. Yeah, you go ahead, do that. I've done that. Yeah, yeah. You won't do it twice.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a privilege, so treat it that way. Um, and this is one of the things that we've said, uh, and this is important. Make this repeatable um, by someone with no technology. You can do it high tech. You can do it low tech. Low tech is much better if you have a whiteboard, chalkboard, and you can write on it. That is the best thing. You go, well, they don't read my language. That doesn't matter. If you write, they write. Even if you write in your language, they write in theirs. So they know it's important because you just started writing. Um, and your translator should be able to help you. Um, and this is very important. And I can't believe I get so much pushback on teams with this. It's crazy. I do not understand. Maybe someone can explain it to me because I'm thicker than a rock, maybe. But review the previous lessons. If you're the first lesson, obviously you can't review. But from 2 to 9, review. And if you think you're wasting your time, you are not. Trust me, you are not. There was um, uh, this latest trip that I took. They pushed back on me. They were like, "Do I need to review? You just said it. You just did this." And I said, "Man, review. Do it." And then I got to. I think I did. I may have done 9, or I did the end. I finished out, and I went through a review, and they didn't get half. They didn't get half of the lessons. They didn't remember the themes of half the lessons. And I looked around, in my kindness and gentleness as sarcasm. I looked around at the team as if people were butchering the review by not understanding. I looked around at them. I was like, you see, they do not hear what you think they hear. So repetition is one of the best ways. So repeat,
Well,
review.
and let me say this because you stated this, I think, before we even started. You might have said it when we were recording, but if you think about what most people, I know what I used to do. If I knew I was teaching three,
Mm-hmm.
I'd just go listen to three. Shorten yourself a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because one of the best things you can do is, like how you and I years ago, we put in the cassette tape of Herb Hodges and we would just listen and listen and listen. And I was lucky to have this stuff where I could hear it while I was driving. But a lot of times, if you're teaching one of the lessons, the people just focus on that lesson. And I know it's hard to even consider listening to the lesson before your lesson, but that's one of the ways that you understand what you're teaching,
Mm-hmm.
especially once you get past three, because they even become more four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, or even more connected to one, two, and three as you go on. And that would be added.
Yeah.
That would be added, but I would think that's a part of the review
Mm-hmm.
that, and then I've seen this too, man. Like people that are teaching four, five, and six, seven, whatever, they're so. I always talk about that taking notes, even up until the point of you're ready to teach, because you could capture something that you've not thought about before you go up there and teach. It can solidify something in you
Mm-hmm.
by listening to the ones before, and we get so one track that that's just something to beware of. And that would be just an encouragement to, if you're struggling with the lesson you're teaching, you probably need to go listen to the lesson before it, or maybe two before it.
Yeah. And you just sparked a good thought. We need to do one of these podcasts with how to lead a team. You know,
That'd be good.
yeah, that can give some helpful hints on how to lead a
That'd be
team.
great.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, and if you're doing chapter 3, so um, so in the videos again, somebody may come back to me and say, you know what, you did some stuff that wasn't in the book. fantastic. Do whatever's in the book. Okay. Um, I'm not a perfect guy. This is the way I do things. So, but teach from the book. Um, Always starting with an illustration is good. I think I used parable of the builders um, at the beginning on the video. But again, review because you're gonna marry this into what's already been said, um, and going back to I'm not going to do a review, but the proper information, spiritual illuminations, vision. That's you want to start with that. Then you want to say, hey, our only mandate, something to the effect of the theme of two, um, and then you're going to bounce back on what's just been said with the Great Commission. And what you're trying to do here in this one is you're trying to make a definition that is not an opinion. Okay? That is a huge part of this is you're taking opinions out of it. Because as soon as somebody tries to argue with you and they start with the phrase, well, I think, well, who cares what you think? That's the point of this whole lesson is all you're trying to do is raise the bar on what a disciple is. That's it. That is the main drive. And if you're not convinced, say that you're brand new to this process, all you've been is part of the institutional church all your life, and that's the only thing you've ever known or seen or understood that was going to get anything done, then it's going to be really hard to to block all that out of you know well, we got to share our faith and we got to do this and we everything that every pastor ever told me to do, that's what I got to do. um, as far as like building the institution, and this may not build the institution necessarily. It will, but not in the way that they would like. You know, so it's going to be very very difficult to get that grasp that into your head. Um, but the first point being uh, disciple making. The very first thing I shoot is what is a disciple, and what you want to do is you want to take it from a disciple being this. We call it a learner, which is what it means. It means learner, but it's more than just um, like you would say a student. It's very
Yeah.
generic. But if you say I'm a student of Taekwondo, okay, that raises the bar just a little bit. Or what are you a student of? Most people are a student of being a good church member. Okay, well that's not a disciple. I mean, it is in a very loose definition, but what you're looking for is would you ever call any of Jesus's 12 good church members? Do you think what they did in the early church equaled out to what we do as a good church member? No, no, not even close. Not even close.
Impossible. Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to raise the bar. So you want to raise the bar to a point to where you're not going to do this, and this is a good point, maybe a good way to say it. You're not going to do this unless you make an intention to do it. I mean, you just don't stumble, slip, fall, and oop, look, I make a disciple. No, it's something you go after, something you're going to have to climb over broken glass to get to. Um, is there any better? You want to add
No,
anything
I
to
was
that?
just thinking you don't like you said, this isn't something you stumble upon. You don't just accidentally, oh, I didn't know I've been making disciples.
Yeah,
You don't look around one day and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm like Jesus now. Look at these guys that are following me. Like it is absolutely 100% intentional.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, like we've said before, we've been doing this for a long time, and I can't think of anybody that I talked to about this that went, oh, I was doing that. It just made sense to do it that way. I have yet to see anybody or meet anybody that has said that. So
Yeah.
what you're trying to do in this very first point, and I've only got 2 points. I don't know what you got, but I only got 2 points. Um, Disciple making, which is you got the three ideas. What is a disciple? And if you're going to camp anywhere, that's where you want to camp because you want to raise that bar up as
Yeah.
far as you can, and not raise it up so it's unattainable, but raise it up to where somebody goes, wow, that's man, I'm going to have to commit to that. It's like if somebody looks in the mirror and goes, wow, you're looking pudgy there, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, well that you're not gonna that's not gonna drop off just because you know yeah because you don't like it. I mean that means you're gonna have to eat the what I call it, the Elm method, eat less, move more.
Yeah.
That's the Elm method. Uh, so you're gonna have to stop shoving things down your throat, your gullet, and you have to get your butt out and move and do and pick up some heavy things. So same thing with disciple making. That means you're going to have to make a point to do it. Um,
Well, and you think about like you keep saying, I love that. I'm not. I don't think I've ever heard you say that
what?
about like raising the bar,
Hmm?
but raise the bar without and raise the. I'm thinking of a bar, but raise the bar without the intentions of dropping it on somebody
No.
who harm. You raise the bar with the intention of somebody being crushed by the weight of them realizing that what they've always thought a disciple was
Right.
is absolutely not even anywhere close to comparing to what Jesus was doing with his
Yeah.
guys.
Right.
And that's where you don't intentionally hurt feelings. So you're going to have one of two things happen. You're either going to have somebody that's going to argue very much with this, not out loud, hopefully, but
Mm-hmm.
in their head,
Right.
because they're already doing this through evangelism explosion, through a small group thing here, through a church program here. And I'm not throwing off on those things, but those things will not make a disciple based on what this lesson teaches.
Right.
So you're either going to have number one somebody argue in their mind with trying to rationalize the fact that they're doing what you're saying. I've
Yeah.
heard this said, "Oh, I do that. Oh, I'm like you don't do that." But they're either going to do that or number two, they're going to come to the end of themselves and they're going to realize this is probably why they're absolutely frustrated in life. Number one, because they haven't been discipled, and number two, because they don't know how to make a
Right.
disciple.
Right.
This lesson uncovers both of those,
Mm-hmm.
how to be a disciple and how to make a disciple.
Right.
That's what I love about three.
Yeah. So, and you make a good point. And yes, most of the people that will argue with you will be in their own head, and other times it'll be, it could be, and this is something you may get in a question and answer thing. Um, I was sitting at a meal with a missionary one time, and he goes, "You disciple guys, you forget about evangelism or whatever, and all this other." And I'm like, "No, we it's part of ours. It's part of what we do. We have to teach people. That's part of making a disciple is teaching them how to evangelize. But evangelize people that evangelize never make disciples. So I include what you do, but you don't include what I do. Uh,
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
yeah, and you know what? But here's another thing. If somebody says, "Yeah, I already make disciples," and you go, Oh, fantastic. And not in a confrontational way. Say, fantastic. Who?
Yeah, let's see him.
Who? Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's just see. Oh, you got him? Let me talk to him. Oh, wait a minute. Let me be here when you talk. No, no. I want to talk to them because they need to sound. They should sound like you, right? If you're discipling them, yeah, that'll give some butt pucker real quick because it's like,
yeah,
oh, wait, and I thought about this as you were talking. This isn't a hey, look at that mountain, look how high it is, get the hell up there. No, it's it's look, let's go together here.
yeah,
Here, let's help one another up the hill. Okay, let's
yeah,
join together in this. Not hey, let me tell you how to get your lazy carcass up, up that
yeah.
tall mountain. Uh, you know, uh,
You got
I got you,
you
Denham.
got me all you got me all messed up. I laughed too loud for her this early in the morning.
uh, so,
Yeah, well, and that goes back to excuse me, I'm putting stuff together for my Sunday spewing, and
mm,
I'm using a lot of using a lot of lesson three context. I'm just not teaching lesson three,
right.
and it reminded me of that this is caught more than it's taught.
Mm,
So the beautiful part about lesson, I think, one, two, and three, most people would think that it's full of information, but the majority of the way you understand one, two, and three is to start either catching it from watching someone else do it or doing this yourself
mm,
with someone else. I'm not saying that the rest of the lessons 4 through 9 are not like that, but what I found out in my personal um, journey through this is one, two, and three are caught more than they're taught, and that's one thing to remember about. Like that reminded
yeah,
me of what you're saying, because a part of disciple making, a huge part of disciple making, is the with Him principle,
yeah.
which is a big part of Mark. Was it 3:14? I think there's some people that add that in this lesson, right? Isn't that where this one is added,
Well,
or is that later on?
uh,
The with him principle.
no, it's not
I
in
think
this
I
one.
actually I put it. It's not in this one.
No,
Okay. Yeah.
I think
Yeah. I
that's
might
in
put.
six.
It's
That's in
in
six.
six. Okay. All
That's in
right. Well,
six.
I'm
That's
way
okay.
ahead.
That's okay. That's all right. Not a problem.
Way ahead.
But it's a good point. And this addresses the perception part of the perception process product. Because after lesson two, a lot of the thinking is going to be, okay, well, we just need to do it. If make disciples is our only mandate, let's go. They've already jumped over the idea that they may not understand what it is. Okay, and they may be trying to make a product they don't even know what it is. Um, and I think even Herb, and I may have done it in the video. I probably need to go back and watch the video before I talk. But I keep saying that. But Herb says, if making disciples is our mandate, then I should be asking myself some questions. What's the very first question? And a lot of people say, well, how do we do it? Which is question three. That's three of the questions. First question is, what is it? Second one is, what does it mean to make a disciple? And the third question is, well, then how do I do it? Because until you understand, excuse me, what it is you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, then being active is kind of out of sequence. It's kind of like, hey, we need to go on a trip, and you just get in the car and leave. Okay, well, wait a minute. Where are we going? I mean, that's paramount, right? You don't even know where you're headed, and you got in the car and you're driving down the road, and now you got the map out trying to figure out where you're going as you're driving. Well, that don't sound bad at all until you hit something that
Yeah.
don't move, right?
You're
So
prepared for the trip as well once you get there.
right, exactly. Oh man, I should have brought this, that, and the other, right? Um, so when you raise that bar on what a disciple is, it feeds right into, what is a discipler, and a discipler, and this is really important. I think, is you need to make sure that you don't um, make this a posturing over somebody. Um, I was real careful about it for many years, and I'm still careful about it. Is rarely will you hear me say, unless it's in a certain setting. Rarely will you hear me call somebody my disciple. I just won't. I've heard a lot of people do it, and that's fine if you want to do that. I don't care really. It's not my job to police you, but it always gives me a, you know, because a lot of people will look at this as I'm up here and you're down there, and a discipler is a co-learner. So we're moving together, and you're lifting one another up. So it's hard to posture over somebody when you're picking them up.
Here's a good example. It just came into my hazy brain this early in the morning. But first time Jason and I went over to the Philippines, Jason White. First time we went over to the Philippines, the pastor there could not get over. They still cannot get over the fact that Bro Jason is not Pastor Jason, and Bro Jason was the discipler of Pastor Derek,
Mm.
right? Of course, referring to ourselves in the third person, but um, the pastoral position already is creating issues
Oh yeah,
with this mindset of discipling and discipler and disciple. It already creates a challenge just with what you said.
yeah,
And so I'm even probably more careful than you are because I'm already under the pressure of, yeah, we pay you to do this. Yeah, you and so where can you be like on the same lines of this discipler, this disciple making, like you said, that's where the co-learner um comes into play. And you've said it to me 100,000 times. I've heard you and Dillingham say it. All you got to do is be one step ahead
mm-hmm.
of the person that you're discipling.
Yeah,
Just one step. You don't have to be 10 years ahead of them.
mm-hmm.
You don't even have to be 2 weeks ahead of them. Just be prepared and prepared to teach them, prepared to give them information.
Mm-hmm.
Just be one step ahead. That's it.
Yeah,
And then sometimes they might step ahead of you and be with some information, with something, and then you're constantly doing. It's not that you're racing, but you're like you said, it's a team effort of you getting up to the top of the mountain.
yeah,
It's not, hey, I did this 3 years ago. No, I'm gonna watch you go up and do it.
yeah,
Yeah, if you need help, come back down, and I'll tell you what you missed and what you did. No, you walk this thing out together.
yeah, yeah. You carry this heavy pack while I eat this Twinkie.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'll sit down here in the shade while you hump it
Mm-hmm.
up the mountain in the heat.
And this is a good place to say, if you call yourself a disciple, okay, which Jesus did, he called himself a disciple. Um, then you can't make disciples unless you are one, and a disciple makes disciples. So if you say, "Well, I'm a disciple," but you don't make one disciple, guess what? You're not.
Not a disciple.
Not a disciple. Not a disciple by Jesus' terms. Now you may be a disciple, which is like I said, just a learner. Somebody who's learning. Have you ever seen anybody be a professional student?
Yeah, I've known a few.
What does people think about them?
What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Go get a
What's
job.
what's the purpose? What are you?
Yeah,
There's no goal, right? Well, that's what we've done. That's what we've told people. Be a professional student when it comes to this process. In other words, just learn, 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 learn. But
and
for what
and that's
purpose? Yeah.
it's all self-focused until you.
So in our society, it's strange to be a professional student. Now, if you've if you're like me and you got one foot in the grave and you want to go back and learn something just for kicks and giggles, people go, that's admirable, you know.
Yeah.
But
But 25, 35-year old in that range that's just continuing education, it's like, okay.
no, I don't think so. So there's the first 2 points, and again, we're not trying to make something very, very, very long. It's just, you can really camp out in those two, because that's really the crux of everything in those first two. What's a disciple and what's a discipler? Because that's the process. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You gotta have
And
two.
I'm like, go ahead. You're gonna have to what?
No, I said you gotta have two. You can't. This is
And
not an island thing.
I would even say we've established this. If you've been on a trip at least once with any of our people,
Mm-hmm.
with any of this network of large growing network of people,
Mm-hmm.
you will figure out very quickly that you are usually teaching either pastors or church leaders.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you go, that's usually the people that are showing up. Now, that's why to me three is one of my I've got more notes on three than I actually have on one, which they're about the same.
Yeah.
But there I love that illustration with the Visine and the eye drops,
Mm-hmm.
and you're at the top of a high rise if comparing preaching and discipling,
Mm-hmm.
the Sunday morning show versus the one-on-one,
Yeah.
more intentional, and you're up on top of a high rise 600 feet, 6,000 feet, however high you want to go, and you've got the eyedropper and you're dropping it, and the dude's down there at the bottom of the ground laying down with his
Yeah.
eye open,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
trying to get that drop into their eye. And then the Coke bottle illustration, of
Yeah.
course, where
The water bottle.
you
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
got a Coke
Yeah. You're
bottle and
you're you're
you
jumping. You're jumping lessons now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that ahead too?
Yeah, man.
Good gracious, Bill. Why don't well I don't have the Coke bottle. I have the Visine one.
That's
And the
fun.
only thing I my notes are the difference between the institution and the individual
Yeah.
in number three. And is that one not in? Which one's that one in?
Excuse me. I think that's in six as well.
Why am I? Why do
Because
I have
because
so
you
much
because
to
you're
six?
breaking every rule. Um, it might be in there. I don't know. You have to go back and read. Uh, like I said, stick with the book. Um,
Yeah,
At the end of the day, if I
I'm
say
the
something,
illustration of what not to do.
yeah, no. Just stick with the book. Um, but just looking at the vocabulary. So we got four words: disciple, discipler, discipling, and where discipling, um, the action that's where you're really going to make a distinction between putting it off on other people and something I'm going to do. Okay, so discipling is the engagement of this whole process, because hey, I'm going to go to this place, give my money, and now I'm alleviated, and I've paid somebody to go do this thing for me, because I got to work a job, and this guy has all the time in the world, and we pay him, that therefore let him do that, which and this is a good thing to say. Maybe I don't think I've said it in the video, but if you want to say this, it wouldn't be harmful. Is that the process of making disciples is not just for the person that you're discipling. They're not the only one that's going to benefit from this. It's a backlash. It comes, what you put into them is going to come back to you. So you're going to grow as much as they're going to grow. I can't think of one time that I've been involved in this process with somebody that I did not grow, or get stronger, or get more skilled. Um, because just in the action itself, just just like in these lessons, the action of pouring it into somebody from across the table gives me the ability to conversationally talk about it. These lessons like this, you know, I I would say that a vast majority. I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming something. You can correct me, but a lot of people who teach in a crowd situation have it's a very hard time to talk across the table to somebody about something like this. It's hard to organize it in their head where they can
Yeah.
conversationally talk about it. They can preach it or talk it or teach it, but when it comes to conversation, it's hard. Uh, Hard to relay.
You mean like one on one,
Mhm.
like
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, preaching versus discipling. You are right. This is those examples are in there.
damn it, Bill.
Yeah. I didn't read far enough down um, in my notes. But preaching versus discipling. Yeah. So those are.
Well, I mean that's the the point of that's the distinction of like excuse me when you're in another country and you've got a bunch of pastors
Mhm.
that show up, church leaders, they're going to think, well, this is I do that on Sunday morning.
Right. Right.
And the reality of this is that's one of the stools we're trying to destroy.
Yeah.
We're not intentionally
Right.
trying to destroy it, but that's one of the makeshift stools that people are resting on that is not God's standard
Right.
for building individuals
Hmm.
because you cannot do this in a mass
Mm-mm.
setting. It is an individual
Right.
one on one the like what we've been talking about now. I can imagine somebody listening to this that's never taught this before,
Hmm.
but they're getting ready to go teach it somewhere, and I can imagine them wrestling with that and don't wrestle with that
No.
statement. What I just said, like you've been saying, teach the material and the information will do the job.
Yeah.
You are not going to illuminate anybody.
Mm-mm.
You don't have the ability to do that.
No.
That's only the spirit using the truth, the information. So
Yeah.
don't get sidetracked either thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get the Jackson preachers in the jaw,"
Right.
or "You got it wrong, I
Yeah.
got it right." Don't even wrestle with that,
Great.
but
Great
know
point.
this is the problem. Like
Yeah.
know this is what they're thinking.
Great point. I remember one time um, I saw somebody that I was training teach this lesson with in their venom in their speech, and nobody caught it but me.
I
And
think I know that
I
situation.
jacked him up.
I remember that.
I jacked his jaw, and I'm like, dude, I don't, I don't ever want to see that again
Yeah,
because that is not what we're here to do. We're not here to jack somebody's jaw. We are here we are here to invite people into it because in the crowd you're going to have the pastor. Maybe you got a pastor that's frustrated to no end, and maybe he's looking for God to show him something. He's like crying out and going, God, I don't know what to do, and I don't understand what's going on, and you may be the drink of water that he needs, and let him drink from it. Don't throw it in his face,
yeah,
or
yeah.
her,
That's good.
and and then you may have somebody that has been crying out for God to send them somebody to fix, help them fix what's lacking in their walk, and you may give them an opportunity for them to say, look, I need somebody to help me, you know. So this can be a blessing or a curse depending on how you approach it.
That's a good way to say it because this information has the ability to unravel, to take away the like you don't going back to the stool. These first three are like a stool, the legs to the stool, and just like you're creating this place of foundation with lesson one, lesson two, lesson three. While these lessons are building a foundation, another foundation is having to be destroyed.
Yeah.
We are not the ones to destroy
No.
people's foundation.
Hmm.
I learned that the hard
Yeah.
way. That's not what my role is.
Yeah.
Now, when you one on one and you're in a different setting to where they have a lot more cushion to fall onto, then you can start being a little bit more um, direct.
Yeah.
You are not to be direct
Right.
with these. Do not insinuate that the people that are listening to you are the problem,
Right.
because they're going to figure it out sooner or later.
Yeah.
They're the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be
You ain't the one
obvious.
to tell them.
Yeah. And are we trying to knock the legs out from under them? Yes. Not with a thud. Uh,
Yeah,
we're we're
yeah,
we're we're
yeah.
trying.
Merciful.
Have you ever seen jujitsu? Somebody with jujitsu. They
Yeah,
man, they get somebody in a hurt locker, and it seems almost gentle.
yeah. Oh, I know a dude that does it, and he can hit pressure points. He knock you out by looking at you, man.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, you're like, oh, this is kind of like what,
He's like, I could put you out with my middle finger, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe you.
Yeah, don't touch me. Um,
Yeah,
so when you go into the idea of discipling, you're trying to engage people into action. Okay, this is you're not going to do this from your couch. You're not going to do this on Sunday morning during Sunday school during church preaching. Okay, all those things are not bad. And you can be used toward this, but they are not the process. And then you get into the last word, which is disciplines, which we're really good at. We're actually pretty good at those things um, because we tell
let's
people this is
one,
what it's
two,
all
and
about.
three, and go to four. Yeah,
I mean, people having a quiet time, Bible study, training. Um, you know, that's what we tell them. That's what we tell people. This is what being a believer looks like. You're this, you're that, you're the other. Um, Now you've got to have those, but you can do all those things and never make a disciple. That's a good thing to
that,
say.
that number four is the only stand of the three, and you could actually see the disciple being self focused if you make it that way,
Yeah,
not according to the teaching. But number four is the one that we do disciplines for us,
yeah,
right? Like we're doing, but I love the beauty of how he teaches, and the disciplines are to, of course, they're there to last long enough for someone else to get the benefit
mm,
of the disciplines,
right,
which kicks your butt right into number four,
right,
which is the whole concept of the last part of the lesson three
yeah,
of multiplication. So I think that discipline is, and we just skip all the other ones and we go, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a good disciple. I'm a good disciple, and you've already established it. You're not a disciple if you're not building
right,
someone else. If you
right,
don't have a disciple,
right. And the disciplines.
a
Um,
disciple according to Jesus. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So the disciplines. Um, like you said, we make it about us. I have my quiet time for me. I study my Bible for me. I get trained for me. No, if you can turn it around to where, these disciplines aren't for you. You're learning these things for others. Yeah, and it that and you maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is. It's huge.
Absolutely. Changes
It
everything about
does.
what your disciplines are doing.
Yeah.
And we still suck at disciplines. I mean, I've been in this game for a long time, and dude, my disciplines are still horrible at times. But my disciplines have been established long enough that, praise God, I understand that. I understand that when I've got a guy coming after me or willing to sit down with me, I better get my dang disciplines
Yeah.
a little bit more straightened and lined up. And that's one of the awesome things when you start getting somebody showing up. Then it's like, ooh, let me clean this little thing up right here. Let me clean that little thing up.
Well, I had a pastor at, I took a pastor with me on a trip, and um, he was like, I'd like to see your study, how you study, because I was saying stuff that he was like, where the heck are you getting this stuff? And he's like, I'd like to see your study habit, see how you're studying. And I'm like, you'd be thoroughly unimpressed.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as
Amen.
intense as you think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing that that a lot of the study habits are created in conversation with other
Oh
people,
yeah.
created in everyday life, just doing life with family, life with life in general. Because man, once you become a disciple, the disciplines are the disciplines are like I mean they're the wheels to the car.
Yeah.
I mean you can't go anywhere if you don't have the
You
disciplines.
just do
And
them. You have to.
yeah, it's like I mean not that they're grievous at times, they're not, but it's just like they're connected.
Well, think of
You don't have
anything,
to.
anything that you do. You say, okay, well, I'm going to do X, whatever X is. I don't want to pick on anything. So that means, well, if I'm going to do that, then I got to have this, and this. This is the equipment I need in order to do that activity. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all this is. Well, if I'm going to do this activity, then what do I need? I need this, and this, and then I'll go do it. But it may not seem like work. Okay, a lot of people think discipline's got to hurt. No, they don't have to hurt. It's just what you got to have to do the job.
and
So, yeah,
they direct, they move. The
right,
disciplines are agents to the process.
yeah. So going back to point number one, what you're trying to do in this whole lesson is make a clear, defined line of each word, and each word plays on another. Disciple, discipler, discipling, disciplines. Making sure that you're defining each word and adding flavor to them and not just spitting them out and hoping that they catch what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um,
So one thing to add, I'll ask you this question for the sake of somebody that is preparing to teach lesson three that's never taught it in a group of people, whether it's here in the United States or in another country. So the question would be, um, how long should this be? I'm kidding.
how long does the process take?
Well, how long should this lesson take to teach it?
Oh, I mean,
uh,
generally these lessons take, without a translator, take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes.
yeah. And the reason I'm asking that is if you find yourself preparing this and it's taking you about 15 or 20 minutes, it's not that it's wrong. It's that you might need to go back and add some flavor because it could be a little bland and you're not adding your own ingredients. You've just missed some of the
Well,
important parts of one, two, three, and four.
you may be going too fast. You may be
Mm,
going way too fast.
that's a good point. Yeah,
Slow
yeah.
down.
Take your time.
I'll,
Yeah, take
I
your
will
time.
never in all my life forget. I got a phone call from India of one of the guys had taken a team over, and he called me after the first day and said, "Hey man, we've taught through the strategy in a day with a translator." And I said, "Good God, how did you do that?" And what had happened was he didn't get his guys ready, and he
Oh,
actually gave some of the the first three to somebody who I knew didn't know what the heck they were doing, and
Wow.
he made all the colossal mistakes, and they had smoked through the strategy. And the only thing that halfway saved them was the translator they were using was familiar with the strategy.
Wow.
I mean, that was the only thing that might have saved them. But I wasn't there, so had I been there, I'd probably been in jail. I'd have been killing somebody.
And it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been people from India. It would have been
Oh
Americans.
yeah, no, no. The Indians would be going, "Wow, you guys treat each other harshly."
I I'm wrestling with the amount of time we have in the Philippines and Bangkok here in the next couple weeks.
Hmm.
I'm literally wrestling with. I mean, they ain't no way. So
Not enough
I'm
time.
thinking, God, you got to open up another door,
Yeah,
another day. Um, so cause I know what time frame. So that question sounded kind of weird, but I just is like I'm like that's a good measure.
yeah.
If you can go back and teach it yourself, just to yourself, stand in front of a mirror, because you want to talk about uncomfortable. Stand in front of your mirror, like after you get out of the shower, make it as uncomfortable as
Well,
possible, and teach this.
just don't share it.
Yeah, no. Don't record anything, but that like
But video yourself fully clothed,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and watch it. Me watching my videos is it's kind of hard.
yeah. God, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It sharpens you,
yeah.
but that's one of that was the reason. I think you said it when you said that. That was I wasn't even thinking that, but slow down.
Yeah, slow
Take
down.
your time. Time is not the problem,
No.
even though it is a problem, especially when schedules are schedules in other countries.
Well, if
Time
yeah,
is not the problem.
if the point is them getting the information, and this, I, people who swim in these ideas a lot, we forget how impactful they are. I mean, this is stuff that's just not taught. You just don't hear this stuff, and so you're going to tell somebody something they never heard ever, and it's something monumental, and you're going to expect them to catch it on the first time. Ain't no way.
Mm-mm.
Ain't no stinking way. So slow down. Slow down. Okay? The first point is going to take the majority of the time. Okay? The second point is here's the idea of the second point. We're okay with discipling somebody, but it's a whole nother level to teach somebody in such a way that they can teach what you just so taught them.
Yeah, yeah,
So now now you want to, you already went from, you know bottom basement bargain believers, and now you've raised it up to what a disciple is, and you've already given them the butt pucker. Now you're going to raise it again by saying not only do you have to raise people up to this level, now you got to teach them how to teach people to come up to this level, which raises the bar even farther. Okay, so now everything that, like we've said a ton, everything's got to be repeatable. Okay, so now you got to not just learn it yourself, but you got to learn it in such a way that you can relay it again, or that they can relay it again. So you've got to teach. So now you're in point two. This has got to be this has got to be transferred to the next person. So it's got to go through somebody. Um, and this is the only way, and then talk about multiplication impacting the world physically. This is the way it's got to be. You know, you can have a baby, but you can have a baby and never teach that baby how another baby's made.
yeah.
But you can also make another baby, but never teach that person how to make that person into a responsible adult. That's what we're talking about. Is turning a believer into a person that can turn another believer into a responsible believer. Okay?
Yeah, my last note says God wants us to reach the world the same way it was populated
Mm-hmm.
by multiplication. Be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
And then I love to use John 15,
Mhm.
but I don't always. But I'll add that one in there with the abide
Mhm.
with me and be fruitful.
Right.
And the intention again is um, are those four parts. This I think this lesson could be at times it has the potential to be very long. With but it doesn't have to be long.
Yeah. Now the long, if you, the longest I've ever the longest of the lessons is 4, but 3. I mean 1, 2, and 3 because if depending on how you do it, they can stretch out. But generally, this lesson should take 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes
Yeah.
generally.
Okay.
Um, but you're gonna,
That's good.
but the second point is basically you're trying to turn it so that people stop looking, so that their vision usually stops on a person, okay. But what you point two is you're trying to get people to look through that person into the next person, and almost like a connection through to the ends of the earth. So that's what point two is trying to get to, is you've got to stop looking at just your situation or just your venue, but you've got to look out to the rest of the world, and anybody that's in front of you is the vehicle in which you're going to get there. So,
Good.
um, and expound, wax eloquent, whatever on point two, whatever gets you to that theme, that idea. Okay, and that's where you can look back to the Great Commission that was just taught, is saying, Jesus says, "Lo, I'm with you." So don't think this is all on you. It's on Him as much as it is on you, because He says, "I will be with you. I will do this through you," and you get to be the vehicle, just like He's looking through you to the rest of the world, and you're looking through other people the same way. So
Yeah.
that's not a bad way to say it.
Yeah. Good.
Anything else you want to
Good
add?
man. No, I think that's a good thorough. Uh. Yep. Good thorough.
Good thorough. Yep.
Thorough. Huh.
A good thorough. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So all right. So we'll end it here. And if you follow our advice, you will be successful and have lots of money. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
no, you won't. All right.